So this video is drawing the lungs on low power and labeling both this one and, as you can see, this structure right here. Somebody actually drew over here under the high power image. So we're going to be labeling both. I'm going to cheat. I found this drawing online and it has most of the structures labeled and spelled out for you, but we are not going to go into this much detail on it. But basically, the lung has these large tubes called bronchuses. Bronchus is singular. And it has this cartilage in it right there. Then it has smaller tubes called bronchioles that lack cartilage. And then we have these tubes right here. And this is what I tell my students: if it looks like a tube here, it's an alveolar duct. If it looks like a closed-end sac, we're going to call it an alveolus. Now, in reality, this could actually be one of these, and we're looking at it from a different perspective. That being said, we have our bronchiole here. So this is the bronchiole, and I know that's a bronchiole because it doesn't have any cartilage. And then here, that is the alveolar duct, and the difference is, see how this is thicker? It actually has a muscle layer in it. So if I zoom in, so it's thicker, I know this is a muscle layer in it. And if I scroll over now and scroll up, these are just simple cells right there. There's no muscle layer. So the bronchiole is all of this right there. And then this is the alveolar duct. This is a second alveolar duct. Now we are going to go over here. See that these circles, singular is alveolus, plural is alveoli. So these would be alveoluses. Now look out, this one right here is actually a blood vessel. This one right here is a blood vessel. I could tell because there's fluid in it. This one's probably something called a venule. This one's something called an arteriole. So over here, that's actually a capillary probably. Looks very big for a capillary. So these would be blood vessels. So the alveolus is going to be clear on the inside. And I'm going to actually call them alveolar sacs for your labeling. So there and there, those would be the alveolar sacs. Now, over here, I want you to draw these two blood vessels. This one is rounder, and that's thicker right there. So see how thick that is? So this is going to be an artery. This one is thinner and it doesn't really hold its shape. This one's thin, it doesn't really hold its shape. So those will be veins. So it's important for doing the arteries and the veins. The artery is going to have a thick wall. The vein has a thin wall, and the vein tends to be flattened just because of how they make the slides, and has this large space in here. The artery and the vein. So here's an artery and a vein. So see how the artery is actually rounded. The vein, because it doesn't have this thick middle layer, is sort of collapsed on itself. This one's not so great, but see, the vein has a very thin wall. The artery has a very thick wall. So that's what I want you to focus on drawing this. Then we come to this thing. And the trick with this is we need to be consistent with this one right here. Now, when you drew the picture, whoever drew it, I thought this was actually a blood vessel. It actually looks like cartilage. So this looks a lot like cartilage right in there, which would actually make this a bronchi instead of a bronchiole. That somebody did, I think it was Sophia. Don't quote me on that one right now though. So this would be the cartilage right here. So if we look at this picture, there's cartilage all the way around it. And this is probably where the bronchi is shifting into becoming a bronchiole. It would help if I changed windows with that I'm recording. So what I propose doing is just expanding this a little bit. So making it more here, putting some there, so we can call this a bronchi and feel good about ourselves. See on this picture, there's a little bit more. That's this hyaline cartilage right there. That's under those buttons. So I propose just putting a couple extra cartilage bits in there, or at least make it bigger, like in this one right here. So that's the hyaline cartilage. So maybe put some more there or over here. And then this is the bronchus. And again, this is just zoomed in of this section right here. So when you label the rest, this would be an alveolar sac. This would be an alveolar sac. That is a capillary, because I could see the blood in there. Again, I'm not convinced that's a capillary, so just say blood vessel. So those are blood vessels. And then this would be an alveolar duct right there. So basically the same things. The circles are the alveolar sacs, the long tubes like here and here. So this is what we were, actually I think this is what we were calling the alveolar duct on that picture. Maybe this was. And so forth. Thank you.